I want to cover the United States, where President Biden seems to be, believe it or not, getting worse. Yesterday, of course, was the anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks, and he made a fool of himself by claiming he was at ground zero the day after 9/11, despite his own book saying he was, in fact, in Washington, D.C. Have a listen.
Each of us, each of those precious lives stolen too soon when evil attacked. Ground zero in New York. And I remember standing there the next day and looking at the building. I felt like I was looking through the gates of hell. It looked so devastating because from where you could stand.
I bet all of you can tell me where you were the day of those attacks and probably every other day after it for a week. Then also we saw that press conference in Vietnam, Biden announcing to the media, after it took some pretty faltering questions, that he was off to go to bed. These are just two examples in the last 48 hours. And it's not a surprise that it's impacting the polls. Key Democrats, we're told, are now in panic mode. His approval has fallen to around 42%. Meanwhile, Senate Minority Leader, this is the Republican Mitch McConnell, well, he's no better. He keeps freezing up in press conferences, copping questions about his age and cognitive abilities as well. It's a mess. Joining me to discuss this and more, my international panel, of course, Sky News contributor Kosha Garda, former Labor MP Michael Danby. Kosha, I'll start with you. I mean, septuagenarian, octogenarian, that's not an age issue for both of them. There's plenty of people that are top of the game in their 70s and 80s, but not these two.
No, not at all. And, sadly, Pete, I fear that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And, I think just the reason for that, it's many-fold. And I take no pleasure in looking at cognitive decline and physical decline that happens with the elderly. It's very sad on a human level. We've all seen somebody close to us probably go through it. Where this runs into a problem is there's this darker underbelly that comes attached to it, where it certainly feels like, or at least gives the appearance that they're clinging to power and influence. And then if you dig into, the picture, we've all seen stories about how these people, both Biden and Mitch McConnell, who you cited, have served in government for half a century each on a pretty modest salary, but they're worth tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. People see that and kind of see that this is all about sort of clinging to power and serving that self-interest. And I'd also make a broader macro point that on some level in society, I think the virtue of retirement or of gracefully bowing out is lost in all of this. And that's the sort of thing I think that rubs people the wrong way. But you see it. There's many, many people in the Senate with this profile. And sadly, I think that is here to stay, at least for now.
And just quickly, Coach, to talk, though, that they'll move on from Biden, that he's basically sitting there as a placeholder. Is that likely? And who could they throw in the mix?
That is the question. The same names get floated around, like Gavin Newsom, possibly, even though he indicated recently he probably will wait till 2028. Michelle Obama was back in the news as somebody who might come into the ring. Who knows? I do think there's consensus that they don't want Vice President Kamala Harris to come in, so it's probably going to be some sort of wild card if they decide to pull that lever.